You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
This is TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network, a weekly audio safari that features the newest in paranormal discoveries while highlighting the latest and not to be missed TruthFunder.com projects. For truth seekers and true believers, this week's TruthFunders starts now.
Greetings, bonjour, hola, welcome, and hello. This is the TruthFunders live radio show on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I am your host for this weekly look at TruthFunders.com and everything that is paranormal, metaphysical, universal, and essentially good. It is all about the light here. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. You can listen to the TruthFunders live radio show via the Inception Radio Network by downloading their amazing app. You can just grab that sucker at the App Store on iTunes or the, what is it called, the Google Android market, and download the IRN app, and you can tune right on in straight through that. You can listen on Roku if you've got a Roku box. Figure that out because I don't have one. Or you can also simply listen live by going to inceptionradio.com/listen-live. Thank you so much for joining us live this week, as you do each and every week. And I want to say we are going to be one half short for this particular episode. Damn chinchilla. If anybody can hear the rabble-rousing going on in the background, I have two chinchillas that also share the space that I'm in at the moment. And usually when we do the show live, they are asleep because they are nocturnal creatures. But for some unknown reason to me today, they are awake and running around like crazy. So if any of that comes across on the air, know that it is chinchillas and place all your blame that way. But like I said, we are one half short on this show's this particular episode of the show. Mark Schwartz, the CEO of TruthFunders.com, that usually joins me, is not going to be available to join us for this particular episode. He is getting married in 3 days on the 30th, on Saturday. And as I suspected, you know, everything leading up to doing this show just before the wedding, he was just, you know, I'll be good, I'll figure that out. Well, I'll make the time, we'll be there. And then, of course, 2 days ago, he says, not going to be able to do the show. Yeah, no kidding, dude. You're getting married in 3 days. So congratulations to Mark. And if any of you would like to call in and listen or provide your, rather, thoughts on Mark's upcoming nuptials or wish him well, 888-919-2355 is the telephone number here at IRN. Once again, 888-919-2355 if you would like to get in touch with me. We've got a very special guest on the show with us today. Cannot wait to bring him on in just a couple minutes. He's been on with us once before. We've got a lot to catch up with him on, and you know, some other things here and there. We're going to play it kind of fast and loose with Mark not being around because, you know, usually he likes to stick to a very structured and rigid type of show programming, you know, let's say template, but chinchillas, unbelievable. You got something to say? If you're going to add something, just now's the time, please. Chinchillas, man, I'm telling you. Wacky creatures, those chinchillas. They really do have a lot to say and a lot to contribute when it comes to overall like vibes and energy. You know, we do tarot readings here at my house, my wife and I, and we do a lot of energy work. And when we will cleanse the space before we do any kind of a tarot reading or anything like that, after we get done, especially if it's a rather intense one that has taken quite a bit of energy from all of us, these chinchillas, after the fact, will ring bells for the better part of the rest of the night sometimes, just to cleanse the space and really get all of the accumulated energy out of the room. They're in touch in ways that I really wish I better understood, but they also love music. I've never seen an animal so just infatuated with music. Like I said, they're nocturnal. They got giant ears, tiny eyes, so they listen a lot. And anytime any kind of piano-based music especially is played in the house, they run around going nuts. So if you have chinchillas, you might be able to also, you know, commiserate in that with me. They're rodents. They're just big rodents. Have you ever seen a capybara? Talk about a big rodent. That's a dog-sized rodent. Talking about animals on this week's TruthFunders Radio. 888-919-2355 once again is the telephone number. And I want to urge you to go to truthfunders.com if that's not something that you are making a part of your weekly or even daily routine at this point. There's a lot of things going on at the website right now. A lot of new projects going up. on the reg, actually. For as busy as Mark is getting married in 3 days, it is surprising to me just how much he is able to keep up on the website and getting new projects up and getting guests and this, that, the other thing. And we've got a lot of exciting guests in the coming weeks to demonstrate for you here on TruthFunders Radio. Again, 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. Quick other item of interest. I just celebrated my 30th birthday yesterday. I'm not sure entirely how to feel about that. I really do believe that it's all in the mind. You are as old as you feel. And honestly, I still feel 23 years old. My energy levels and my ability to work crazy hours and sleep on 2 or 3 and then go right back at it have severely de-escalated in the last 4 or 5 years. But other than that, I feel the same on the inside. And I'm curious about what your perspective is on that as well. Age. Is age just a number? I mean, yeah, I've circled around the sun 30 times now, but honestly, it is crazy to me when I look at other like peers, people I graduated with from high school on Facebook, and I see how much age they show and how little like I show comparatively. And I'm not saying that to brag. It just blows my mind. If I were to shave, I still look 17 years old. And I have this theory that you are as young on the outside, as good as you are on the inside. If you are a good person and you live your life in such a way that is towards the contribution of others, I do believe that you age physically much more slowly than you do if you are living a selfish life and one that is taking advantage of people. I really do believe that, and the combination of a lot of alcohol will severely show your age on the outside. And luckily, I don't drink, and I try to live my life as a good person. And I do feel that as a result, I still look as young as I did 5-10 years ago, whereas other people I see, not so much. They look 40. It's wild to me. I want to do a shout out to Google and Harry listening to Truth Funders in Key West, Florida. Harry, we appreciate your patronage, and we appreciate you tuning in live here on Truth Funders. I know a lot of you listen via podcast each week, and if you want to join us live each and every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, we do encourage you to do that. Once again, 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. And, this is kind of a loose show with Mark not being here. I just want to take the week to kick back and maybe discuss Truth Funders Radio a little bit, get your perception on the position of the show, where we're at, if you've been enjoying the interviews over the last few weeks, how you felt about Opperman last week, Suspicious Observers, any of that. Just chime in with your thoughts, 888-919-2355. All right, let's go ahead and bring Jesse Marcel in. We are joined once again by Jesse Marcel Jr. He has a phenomenal project still ongoing right now at truthfunders.com. Jesse, are you there?
Good afternoon. Yes, I am.
Thank you so much again for joining us on the show last minute. I know that this was kind of a quick booking for you, but always a pleasure to have you on, my friend, and we got a lot to catch up on.
Great. Yep. Well, thanks. The timing worked perfectly for me, so.
Couldn't be more thrilled to have you on. And again, Jesse will take calls all throughout the duration of the show. Jesse, do we have you for an hour or the entire 90 minutes of the show? That's one thing I wasn't able to get to the bottom of before we went on.
Well, that makes 2 of us. I was just asked if I could come on tonight, so here I am. We'll make it work.
Well, great. Then we will stay on for as long as you possibly can before we run out of time. So let's talk a little bit about your project currently up at truthfunders.com. It is ongoing. There's still about another month left on your I-Beams project. If we could just give people that weren't listening to the first episode, and by the way, if you want to listen to our first interview with Jesse, I encourage you to download the podcast via Inception Radio Network. A lot of good information in there that we probably won't track again tonight, but you can definitely go back and check some of that out. But just to refresh everyone, let's talk about the I-Beams project and exactly what it is that you are looking to accomplish with your Truth Funders campaign.
Okay, well, I guess it's simply to start out with, if some of these folks aren't familiar with what the I-Beam is, back during the epidemic when Roswell, during the crash back in 1947, my grandfather, if you know the story, brought some debris home on his way to the office, back to the base, because he thought the debris was something from a crashed alien ship of some kind. And being he was an intelligence, he had a really good idea that once it made it back to the base, that it would disappear pretty much forever. So he wanted to share with my father and his wife. And it was in that sharing that he pulled a box out of the back of his car and spread it on the kitchen floor. And there was some foils, some plastic, some basic glass fibrous materials. And these basically what we've come to describe as structural beams. That's our best estimate. We could be off, but our guess there was some kind of a structural beam that had an eye cross section. And as the lore goes, my father, as a 12-year-old child, held one up to a light at a slant, and some symbols like holograms became visible. And it's dead on, they're invisible, but again, like I said, at an angle it became visible like a hologram. And what we've done is taken those symbols that both my grandfather had scratched out, and my father the same way, and we just put together all of those symbols. Then I turned them into a font just to make them easy to work with, just assigning basically random letters to each symbol, although there was some meaning to it. Those symbols that appeared more often were given letters like E, S, T, L, those kind of things. We took that font and then used that to print the symbols on replica pieces. They're pieces of a lightweight metal is basically what it works out to be. And so that you can hold on to what they're holding on, or at least a good replica of what they held on to back then. That's what we're doing with it. And TruthFunders, I talked to Mark. I was lucky enough to talk to Mark. It's been several months ago, and he thought it would be a good position with TruthFunders to bring it out into the marketplace through his company. And that's what we did. We put together the program, and that's basically if somebody's interested in obtaining one of these I-beams, you can go on to TruthFunders and look at those. We also have some other things like I think the font itself is there and downloadable, and just some other information, some kind of famous pictures that I had done and that sort of thing.
I wouldn't say just some other information. I would say tons of other information is actually on the website where the campaign is currently listed. And if you go to truthfunders.com, right there on the homepage, if you scroll down to about, I don't know, it's maybe 2/3 of the way down, you'll see a little link that says more projects. Click on that. It gives you a full listing of all the projects currently up on TruthFunders. And second row down, Roswell I-beam is Jesse's campaign. I've also just posted it in the chat room for those of you currently listening live on IRN. And there is, like you just said, just a plethora of information and things to look at and all sorts of content to really digest by reading the campaign. I mean, you really have provided so much, including pictures of these I-beams and, like you said, text samples of the font. And there are so many levels of donation that you can participate in, anywhere from $5 to anything up to really $2,500. The goal for this project is $3,500, and you're well on your way. But a simple $5 gets you a Roswell Alien Symbols poster download, and that in and of itself is something I've donated $5 towards, and I am excited about just having to be able to hang on my wall and be a part of this history. But really, you throw in $25 and you're getting a genuine limited run replica of these Roswell I-beams that your grandfather brought home, and they are just the toppest quality looking pieces of paranormal history in such a way that, I mean, they're coming directly from you, and this is from your family's lineage. I mean, you guys have been involved with this for years and years and years and years. This isn't some third-party made in China source. I mean, you are seeing through the production of these things from front to end, while also contributing towards the final goal of your project, which ultimately is to what do you wish to accomplish with the $3,500 once it's raised via truthfunders.com?
Well, of course, we'll manufacture the I-beams. We're currently in the process of doing that. But basically, we've made a very limited run in the past, and we ended up we actually did sell some of those, but we ended up by a lot of places, some of your MUFON, that kind of thing, had we either donated or they purchased them, depending on what the situation was, and they'd raffle them off, and they ended up in some museums and that kind of thing. It's, like I said, it's really the most tangible way to get involved with the UFO phenomenon, and of course, more strikingly, the Roswell incident. But it's one thing to look at a book and read it or see it on a television show, but when you're actually holding a piece that very closely mimics what they held back then, it's kind of exciting. There are a lot of people. It's one of the most interesting coffee table pieces you'll ever see. I'll say that much.
and certainly a conversation starter. I mean, people say tattoos are conversation starters. This thing with, the symbols imprinted onto them in such the holographic way that you're doing. I mean, it is a piece that you can predominantly display, whether on your coffee table or on your mantle or even on the dash of your car if you want to do. I mean, I don't know, they might get really hot in the summertime. That's up to you. But they are just a piece of paranormal history to have with you as a reminder. I think really more than anything, as a reminder to keep your mind open and to keep yourself refreshed on a daily basis. That's how I would use this particular object. Had I, made the commitment to Jesse, which I have, but I'm saying for those of you listening who maybe have not yet, it's a good thing to just keep maybe even by your bed. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a physical, tangible reminder to go out into the world, being open-minded, maybe suspicious, maybe, cautiously optimistic, but to keep yourself open to things. And I really do think that they do hold great value in achieving just that for people, let alone the greater universal picture of exposing truth and really getting to the bottom of this Area 51 thing once and for all. I mean, good Lord, do you really believe that they will honestly ever disclose from a governmental standpoint the existence of alien life or really anything that did happen Roswell crash-wise back in what was it, the 40s or the 50s? I'm sorry.
1947.
47.
I think there's little signs of it trickling out here and there. It
does seem to me that they are preparing us in a lot of ways for some kind of maybe not an announcement, but a shift. Or with the Catholic Church having come out and saying that aliens exist, there are little seeds here and there. It seems every year that are being planted that are setting up the general global population to have to accept these types of things, starting with little bits like religious circles admitting that, our alien or star brothers and sisters do exist and things like that. I mean, we could go on about the Catholic Church for an hour if we wanted to, and their involvement with extraterrestrial beings.
Yeah, and as of course, we're fairly intimately involved in what's going on out there just because of our family's namesake and that kind of thing. But it does the atmosphere surrounding this and other sightings and other possible contact and that kind of thing is becoming a much more positive movement. It used to be where people tried to discredit and tried, I'm not saying it's all true, of course, but people were somewhat scared of their shadow when it came to this kind of thing. But now it's a new generation. People are embracing the idea and the concepts of life in the universe beyond our own, of course. Just the other day, there was a big article that came out where, they're figuring just within the neighbors of our own planet, there's probably 55 million other planets that life is likely. That fit the Goldilocks zone, that those parameters that we understand life. But if you have an open mind about this, and we've even found on this planet is like silicone-based life, where temperature might not be as much a factor in biological creation as when you're based on some kind of a different format of some kind. But I mean, really, we're going to find out that, my belief is, life's everywhere, life's around us, and it's time to embrace that. And it's such a positive thing. Like Roswell, I kind of, in a way, Roswell, there's astronauts now that have become astronauts because of the folklore of stories like Roswell and that deep, keen interest in finding life in the universe. Like my father, he was a medical doctor, but when he wasn't being a doctor, he was staring at the stars. He was, reading everything he had his hands on. He was trying to become more and more connected with life and the universe around him. And that was just from the impact it had from holding and viewing this material back when he was 12 years old.
And that goes even further to that point. I would state that the millennial generation is so much more open-minded and so much more centered in terms of having a position that is not one of immediate knee-jerk reaction based on what they were told to believe by their parents growing up, that it does set the overall atmosphere and climate up for much more productive discussion on the matter as opposed to, like you said, taking one step forward and two steps back constantly with the entire field in and of itself and discussing it. You're right. It was an uphill, constant battle. We are now seeing a very substantial shift into a more neutral and not necessarily downhill at this point, but flatlined in such a way that we can now openly have these conversations without fear of repercussion or judgment or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I was just listening to a story on NPR today about the millennial generation and their overall mass exodus from the Christianity faith because of their ability to go online and research spirituality and things of that nature without any kind of, they're just open to the access and to be able to read about these things without having to go to somebody for fear of judgment and saying, hey, I'm interested in this and that, the other thing. And it's very fascinating to see the walls crumbling essentially with the millennials and the Christianity faith as we go on and grow. And I do think that that definitely correlates and speaks directly to where we are going with the overall discussion of UFOs. And look at, what Stephen Greer is doing with, the Congress and the whole thing. There's just much more serious and very...
Yeah, Stephen Bassett. Yeah.
Stephen
right.
Bassett, excuse me. Right.
And you'll find, it's kind of funny is that I have a movie that we've been working on. It's finally come together, and it was called Grail when I started about 7 years ago, and I just found out from the production company today they're going to change the name. So I can't tell you what it's going to be called, but it's hitting a lot of what you're talking about right now. And it is about the blossoming of our humanity and the ability to reason, the ability to look at, maybe what you've been told and what we're told to believe in might not be completely true, and you need to make those decisions yourself. And because of information traveling as fast and efficient it is now, and maybe we're evolving at a different level, maybe we are more in touch with the universe around us, we're more open to being in touch beyond just a written or spoken word or whatever, and yeah, the ability that maybe some of the things and I'm not saying anything individually, but maybe some of the things about religion that you've been brought up to, I have very, very strong spiritual beliefs, very, very strong, but you have to look at some of the religions out there and really scratch your head. And I think it's important that that with the new generations that you do that the questioning is good, and even if it's just internal. You can't take things at face value. You need to discover the answers for yourself, and there you will.
Well, and I do see, just in my own experience in going about in my day-to-day life with my peers and all that, there is such an influx of the concept of being spiritual and having a general spiritual connection to the universe and the world around us, and very much so, inversely speaking, less of the structured and rigid religious staple beliefs that, if you're going to believe in one thing, you have to accept this particular set of parameters that go along with it. For example, the evangelical right wing, if you're gay, you're going to hell, this, that, the other thing, but still believing in the power of good and Christ and all that. They're very contradictory a lot of times, and I do believe that we are seeing a lot of kids thinking for themselves and standing up and saying, wait a minute, what about just being a good person? And it's an exciting time to live in, because that fundamental and elementary step alone is going to provide a much wider discussion in the mainstream for looking at alternative life forms in the universe, and ultimately, discovering and finding them. Whether they'll be intelligent and able to communicate with us is a different topic altogether, but just getting to the root of it and officially saying there is life in the universe. And personally, I don't believe that it will be a organized governmental system that will announce it. I do think that it will be an independent source that will eventually disclose alien life, whether it be the alien life themselves or something like the Catholic Church. I think the last person that we should expect true disclosure from to actually be the U.S. government. It might even be the Mexican government or some South American government before them.
Well, I agree. It's like, and I don't want to get all political, but I honestly don't have a lot of faith in our government. It's like, I don't think that's the place I'm going to go to get my answers. I think the truth is out there. It sounds like X-Files, I guess. It is around us. And
the fact that, by the way, you just said the X-Files. The fact that the X-Files is coming back for a completely new run on Fox in January, it speaks to this whole topic in and of itself. People are clamoring for this type of content.
Absolutely. People want the wonderment, and they want it's a really great way to live, to believe in something beyond yourself, but in your imagination, and you can also connect the dots that, they are obviously, these topics are fictitious, but there's elements within them that are basically concepts that could exist in our own realities. And honestly, I think they do. The more I travel, the more I go to far off places and villages, and it's like the more I talk to people, it's like you realize there's so much going around us that, really, anything's possible, and everything is possible, and probably does happen. So,
and I also think, to that point, just a little bit further, speaking on a more macro scale, it's a time right now in society and in culture globally that I think we are, in a lot of ways, especially here in the United States, yearning and really desiring some kind of outlook on our future that is not so dark, cold, and dystopian. I mean, ever since really the September 11th attacks at the beginning of the millennium, we have been fed this future of war and darkness and negativity, and really just things not being any better than they have been for the last 6 months to a year. Once we hit the economic crash in 2008, that only fed that fuel a little bit further. And everybody in my age that is of the, born 1980 or later, we've really been dealing with this future ahead of us that is very uncertain and not bright because of a lot of the mistakes that were made, I think, by the generation above us and their foolishness with money and this, that, the other thing. But more so to my point, I think that we really want a future and something to look forward to that is worthy of our investment in time and effort and emotion. Honestly, I just went and saw Tomorrowland a couple nights ago. Phenomenal film. Good Lord, this film. It's one of those pagan, mass films I've ever seen. Global consciousness is the exact story. The story is about global consciousness and the effects of global consciousness and the effects of everybody collectively looking forward to a future that is either dark and scary or optimistic and bright. And good Lord, I miss being a kid and looking forward to the future. Even seeing Back to the Future 2 when that came out when I was 10 years old. I mean, the future was bright and exciting and fun, and there's really none of that right now, and we need more of that. We need a reason to get up every day and to go contribute to society as a whole. And I know this is a much greater discussion than alien disclosure, but it all kind of feeds into itself.
Sure. No, I mean, I do. I mean, it does seem how long has it been going on for 15 years now? Where you're right, we're living in a world of doom and gloom, and it's like if you don't, you got to be able to see your way out of this to the bigger picture. And unfortunately, we're being confined to all this negativity, and it is,
And the media, the media's contribution to that. Good golly.
Yeah, the really trying to create this negativity. I know they get more listeners the worse it gets. I mean, there's some of the radio hosts on some of the AMs in the afternoon are just crazy. It's all doomsday. You got to do this, you got to do that. The world's ending. The currency's falling. The governments are blowing up. It's like, oh, come on. It's almost like it is, unfortunately. I think there is that middle or a generation right now, and it's all about that. And it's obviously a dead end road. But in the younger people, you see brightness, you see a hopeful future, and
optimism.
That's where it's going to come out of.
Right.
It's not, not saying that, that the big, whatever these really political shows or radio shows, they're all, both sides attacking and how awful things are. So that's not solving anything. That's just, if anything, they're dragging things down. It's like, it's the hope and the willing to look for the truth and not being told the truth. That's the key, because there's all kinds of people to tell you what their opinion is, but people got to realize that's all it is. It's just opinion, and that truth is there. It's within yourself. And I'm excited to see that movie too. My wife has been talking about going here for a few days.
Go see it. It's just anybody, go see this movie immediately. Go see it. It's phenomenal.
We're going to have to. It's just like my father's wife actually. She got hold of me and said they saw it. They were just down in Texas and all those rainstorms. And they said without it just came out and said my father would have really loved it, and I'm sure he would have. It's too bad he wasn't around to see it. But I mean that idea of hope is what's going to carry us forward. And there's a lot of truth to being this positive energy ideas. Negativity will hold you back from your creativity. It'll keep you from moving forward, from advancing.
Fear.
On so many different levels.
Right. It'll keep you living and making decisions from a position based on fear. And that is ultimately what we need to do away from in every way, shape, and form. Never, ever let fear guide your life. And ultimately also, we need to move away from this question of not only on a royal sense, how does this affect me? Why does this affect me, and into how does this affect us? What can we do for us? It is a community. We are a global community, and I do think that there's a much bigger emphasis on that in the coming younger generations than there is on, let's say, the ones that are currently in power, because you do see very real examples of that being exercised, whether it's these CEOs taking these extremely large bonuses and, every year making more money and very little trickling down to the actual workforce of whatever conglomerate corporation we're looking at, or just any number of examples. We need to see less of the me and more of the us. We are talking with Jesse Marcel Jr. You're listening to TruthFunders Radio live on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. Mark Schwartz is out this week. He's getting married. If you want to call in and wish Mark your well wishes, 888-919-2355. We would also love to have you join in on the conversation. We're going to talk about flying cars. We're going to talk about your brand new show you've got coming up, Jesse. All sorts of things are on the dock. We need to take a quick break. Once again, Art Webb for TruthFunders Radio, live on the Inception Radio Network. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number, and we will take your calls and continue with Jesse when we get back right after this.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
TruthFunders was started as a place to shine a spotlight on paranormal projects. Other big-name crowdfunding sites bury paranormal projects that contain UFO, ghosts, Bigfoot, research, documentaries, books, clothes, movies, and more. At TruthFunders, we invite people to not just listen to our show, but interact and do something about it. You can create a project. Yes, you, listening to the radio right now, you can make a difference. Stop dreaming and take action at www.truthfunders.com. Click Create a Project and submit your idea, or browse the other paranormal initiatives that other brave souls have put their energy into. Support them as they reach into their creative spirit and turn their passion into progress. Each donation you will make, you will receive something in return, from a book to a DVD to a Roswell I-beam and plenty more. You don't have the scratch to donate? Fine. Share anywhere you can, from Facebook to Twitter, or blog about it. That's free, and it helps support a community of people that not only want but need to get the word out. We are not alone. We are a community. We need to believe in each other as much as we believe that there's more to life than meets the eye. Help support a project on TruthFunders, or create your own today at www.truthfunders.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Welcome back to TruthFunders Radio, live here on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. We are sans Mark Schwartz this week. He is off getting married this upcoming Saturday, so he'll be back next week. We are joined by Jesse Marcel Jr. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. Joined by Jesse. We appreciate him coming on and joining us once again.
Happy to be here.
And Jesse, now getting away from what we were just speaking on, and by the way, if you want to contribute to the conversation on the more universal, overall perspective and approach and attitude from people here on a global level, please feel free to call in at any time. MJ will throw you right up. But I want to move on to technology. And like I said, if you want to check out Jesse's project now at truthfunders.com, we urge you to do that. It is the Roswell I-beam project over on truthfunders.com. Please go check that out and contribute towards Jesse's campaign. But you also are involved with the notion of something I just mentioned, Back to the Future Part 2 a couple minutes ago, that I've been clamoring for since that movie came out, which is a flying DeLorean. And when is my flying DeLorean conversion going to happen?
Hopefully right around the corner.
That's what they've been saying since 1999, Jesse. I need more. I need more than that, because right around the corner is that's not concrete enough for me. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the concept of flying cars and what your contribution to that field is, and really like what you are doing now as a result of having been involved with that for such a long time. I mean, years you've been doing this, right?
Yeah, if you don't mind the long-winded version, yeah.
We've got time, my friend. Mark's not here to interrupt us and talk, so yeah, please go on.
with Roswell and growing up in that atmosphere, then my father was actually a very brilliant physicist as well. In fact, he did a lot of amazing things. Like I think I said the last time I was on the show, it's like, for projects in the basement of the house, we built an atom smasher. He was designing silicon solar cells for such a thing, that kind of thing. It's very brilliant, cutting edge. And obviously that trickled down the information in a certain way to think. And my greatest love is probably in science fiction, as far as, the thinking and the futuristic ideas. And, part of that is the idea of flying cars and that kind of thing. But I kind of took a different, there's actually some that are approaching, the reality of, planes that have folding wings that can fly. Although it's kind of funny, there was actually such a thing back in the 1920s, and then where they actually had folding wings and something would go down the highway and they could put the wings out and take off. So that idea of the
1920s, this has been around. Literally, this has been around since the 1920s. I mean, when did the Model T?
1927, I think. There's just on my Facebook, somebody posted on my timeline. It was an old black and white film where they actually, back in 1927, they had this really futuristic car thing that they hooked wings on and drove it down the street, then went out in the desert and flew off. It's kind of cool. And
no way.
So it's been on for a while, but there's most of the market is chasing that end. The idea of creating a transportation system you could take off at the airport and then land at some other airport, fold the wings up, and then drive to dinner.
That is the commonly accepted idea, because from a regulatory standpoint, there's a lot of ins and outs that would go into really getting this to be a thing that is publicly used and viable. I mean, is it the FAA that's involved? Is it the traffic department that's involved? I mean, who really regulates all this to begin with, and how do they do it? That's the question.
It's the FAA is actually supposed to take it up in 2025. That's their date to take up. They figure the technology is going to catch up by 2025, where this is going to become necessary to create the rules, regulations, and that kind of thing for the flying car. I mean, part of what's the problem right now is if you have a flying car, one with wings that can fold and that kind of thing, is it also has to be road legal. and you have to be able to insure it and do all these kind of things to kind of wedge it into what's available out there.
Oh, I didn't even think about the insurance of 16-year-olds flying.
Yeah, there is some complications. Like I'm taking a totally different look at it, a different view of it.
Please elaborate on your view and your approach.
Well, I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just saying, please go ahead and elaborate on your approach and kind of perspective on the matter.
What I'm doing is it involves basically applying existing technologies, everything based on a gyroscope, basically a gyroscope that can create lift, and being able to do it. I mean, it still pushes air. That's what creates the thrust, is by pushing air around. But it's all a very balanced system. And a couple things is why if I want something, and at this point, being honest, it's more of a toy than an actual something you'd want to fly back and forth to work in. I mean, it can be used for that.
Right. It's more of a hobby machine.
It's not. Yeah. Well, it's kind of like who's the market? I've been approached by a number of people that want to buy them as soon as we're done producing them, and they're typically somebody who owns some kind of exotic car. Who's really into extreme sports, those kind of things, and that's really where this falls into. It's just like the way it'll work is it's something that's simple. It can be parked in your garage, plugged in your garage. It's all electrical. You can actually power it down the road if you want to. It's not designed to, but it's basically powered in your driveway, and then it becomes more of a hovercraft in a way. It'll hover a few inches off the road, and then it has the power.
Based on what kind of propulsion? What kind of propulsion is generating this hover effect that is getting it? You said a few inches off the road, essentially.
Yeah, all ducted fans.
Okay, so basically, it's air being pushed down to propel it up in the same way that a Harrier aircraft works.
Exactly. I mean, it has enough power that you could, it'll go. It doesn't have a pressurized cabin, so you could go to 8,000 feet if you wanted to. There's no issue with that as far as the ability of the car. But the reality comes down to, is that really safe? Of course not. Is that the realm of more of an airplane or a helicopter? Yes. Not that this couldn't be evolved into something like that. But my idea was actually, in the science fiction world, where you're literally flying over a surface maybe 10 feet off the ground, where you're able to, and that's actually where the field for this is going to be. Although it could fly very high, it's going to be, your S is going to be, if you're within 10 feet of the ground, it's the Huey helicopters is the same kind of system. They're designed to be able to free fall from 10 feet without breaking up or either getting hurt, that kind of thing. Exact same thing this way. It actually rides right on top of basically the air that's coming out of the rotors hits the ground and bounces back up, and you kind of float along on that. It's kind of a cushion, so you can float along at about 10 feet off the ground for quite a ways if that's what you want to do. And ideally, the idea of being able to navigate at least through the desert or through the countryside at 10 feet off the road. I mean, it to me it gives me goosebumps about the possibilities of what you can do with something like this. Like I said, it'll do everything that people are talking about as far, I want a flying car that I can, that I can fly above the clouds. Well, I mean, you could, but honestly, the parameters are probably going to be set to avoid, certain problems, certain regulations, that kind of thing, are going to be. It's like an ultralight airplane in a way. That's why it's going to be actually legalized. But so there's not really a license involved. The craft itself will teach you how to fly it. But in general, you're just going to be flying a few feet off the ground on a cushion of air.
Do you foresee a circumstance where we are in a position on a society that the technology will present itself and make itself available before the government and regulations have time to catch up and really be prepared? I mean, do you think they're going to be caught, with their pants down, so to speak, in such a way that, oh my God, these flying cars are now being mass produced and being made available to people? We got to get on it and start to figure out how all of this is going to be regulated. Because I kind of, in the way that you're describing it, if it is right around the corner, and from my position, the technology exists at this point in day and age to really do anything. I mean, if you want to talk about the singularity in and of itself, like we're coming to a point where we're going to exponentially figure out everything. I see a problem arising, whereas these things are going to be made available, and it's not just the overall structure of society is not going to be ready for it.
No, and that's right. It's kind of what's going on with the quadcopters right now. The technology is exceeding the ability for the government to create regulations. And that's what I mean. It's in a way you're creating a market, so it's good. I mean, you got to in a way you're going to kind of force the hand for the regulatory agencies to create the instruments to create a safe flying field, pathways, those kind of things. Like right now, honestly, where we're working out of is Dubai and those kind of countries we have a lot of people that come back that want to buy them. There aren't the kind of regulations, you can, like I said, that's right, brought like the deserts, and a lot of these guys will have your Bugatti Veyrons and those kind of things, and this is just another toy, but it's something that actually they'll fly off the road survey. It's a whole new area. It doesn't exist yet, not in a stable way anyway. But as far as where we're at on it, I mean, I have everybody from Lamborghini involved as far as making tubs for the thing. I have huge.
So there's very serious interest and very serious research being done by notable and reputable vehicle companies to get involved with this and get it out as a product as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's not even like I say. That what's beautiful today about technology and then computers and that kind of thing is that you can we can test flow everything. We can test the whole thing before building it. And we're there. All that's happened, the last. I've had the concept for a number of years now, and actually sat down and did the design work in the last couple of years. And originally, we had one that working with an energy drink company as a one-seater. They want to be able to. They wanted to use it to fly into. I think I was told like the Super Bowl. It's kind of like with their banners on the side to be able to fly it over the edge and down around the field and fly it out again. That's just kind of a cool idea. And then, but we've been really busy. Actually, I've been really busy. We're designing a two-seater right now, and it's pretty much all ready to go. We're at the company's at the point now. We're ready to just go ahead and start manufacturing. That's
Have
where
you actually flown or driven like a prototype, a physical working model of this thing?
That won't happen probably until we're shooting for December of this year.
Oh, but you're shooting for this year. I mean, this isn't okay. So this isn't like we hope to maybe be there in 2 or 3 years or in 5 years. I mean, you've got a tangible date set for by the end of 2015. We are going to be driving around in these goddamn things.
I have big people behind me that are we'll have something out there by the end of the year. And it'll be, like I said, it's going to be more of like a, what do you want to call it? It'll be not you would see them day to day or something like that, but they will definitely be available. And like I said, we're already creating a market overseas for selling them, and it'll eventually catch up here.
Do you see flying cars? Let me ask you a question. Do you see flying cars or commercial space travel as working itself first into the fabric of society? Which one do you see becoming widely available for consumers first? Flying
cars is so much easier.
Interesting.
Because
there's so much talk. There's so much talk about commercial space travel, and Richard Branson and his involvement, and I think Tesla's getting involved with that stuff too, and not a whole lot of wide discussion on flying cars. So it's really going to blindside the public in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, for one thing, there's I can't recall the name of it. There's some people have been flirting around with these ideas for decades, just haven't been able to make it to come together. But it's just, for lack of whatever, our design looks like, I mean, it works really well. And we have to use the latest technology. We're not using something, we're not going off an idea that was created 30 years ago or 80 years ago, those kind of things. It's only now that's even going to be even possible to work, quite honestly, just because of the energy density available in batteries. And there's certain other profiles we're able to use that simply didn't exist even 10 or 15 years ago. So it just the timing is now, and it's one of those things that I don't know how many things are going on in people's garages around the world right now, kind of with they're trying to cobble together some kind of an idea like this. Like I said, I think we're on the leading edge ourselves as far as a company and where we're heading. We definitely have. I mean, what we have over a dozen engineers. We have work on every little part of it. It's become it's obviously for me again. This is a passion. This is my joy. This is my excitement, and I'm kind of in the last really 2 years devoted. It's kind of time in my life after I got out of college, became an investment banker for a long time, and then when those kind of anyway, my whole life was kind of going in a direction that as a child I didn't want to go in. And it just, for some reason, slapped me in the face a few years ago, thinking that I want to get back to where I wanted to be as a kid. and that's doing design work in this kind of a vehicle, and that's where it's gone. So all my passions in this, and it's, you know, and unfortunately I have the right ideas and the right smart people behind me to make it all happen. So it's been an exciting journey, and if anything, it's getting more exciting, and things are starting to move. Every day, something happens that's moving along faster and faster. It's just crazy.
888-919-2355 is the telephone number if you would like to join us here live on TruthFunders Radio with Jesse Marcel Jr. 888-919-2355. We encourage your telephone calls and a contribution to the conversation. You know, this brings me to a almost kind of like a full circle point on what we were discussing towards the beginning of the show, and that it is that need for optimism and fresh perspective that will create the passion and the drive for people to really accomplish these things. I mean, like you said, this is something you've been involved with for years and been passionate about for years, and with the hopes of really being able to accomplish it in a tangible commercial way by the end of this year. Those are the types of things that we need to inspire future generations. And that's amazing that you're at this point. I mean, for as dark and scary as everything has been on a global scale for some time now, it's amazing that there are still people out there finding ways to be excited about the future and innovate and push boundaries and create. And that does lead me to ask you, cosmetically speaking, in terms of just the design and the way these things look, how much of it is inspired by old sci-fi movies like Back to the Future Part 2 and things like that? I mean, those are really the general seeds of inspiration on these things, are they not? I mean, seeing them in a film and wanting that to be reality.
Yeah, you know, I mean, the actual design, the way it's actually, you know, the design is based for airflow, but more than anything like that. And it almost has an appearance of a sports car, and there's a reason for that, just because it just happens to be a very nice aerodynamic shape.
You got to cut through.
Absolutely. But no, like, boy, one of those, that old Schwarzenegger movie. There's some movies where they came out and they're doing these flying cars, and they're all futuristic, and honestly, it's very, very inspiring. The actual concept of the flying car, if I go out of the envelope a little bit, is I've been designing a motor. It's inertia, which means static, but it creates momentum at a static point. And there's all kinds of names for that, but it literally would be like a sphere that if you held in your hands, would want to pull in a direction. The energy is created within inside of it. And one of the ideas about this car was I wanted to create a platform where I could harness a new technology and be able to use those spheres in the corners would actually, not today and maybe not for a decade, but eventually get to the point where a technology could take place that would move around without pushing air to create motion. You'd actually be able to create a static inertia with a static inertia that creates an individual force or a vectored force. The idea about that is eventually you could see it's like a big jet aircraft. And at the center of that jet aircraft would be a huge sphere. And there would be no jet engines hanging out on the outside edge. There wouldn't be any jet fuel or anything like that. It'd be all electric. And it would be perfectly silent. That energy within inside the airplane would push it or pull it. And you'd be able to go through the air. The wings would still create the vacuums over the wings to create the lift, etc. But the actual source of energy would be created through a new technology. And it works. You know, and I can make it work at a very small level, but that's where I'm excited about, is that doing these kind of projects puts me closer to being able to develop that technology.
It really is a race to the finish line in a lot of ways with your competition and with the growing technology and feeding off one another. Well, if that can do that, then maybe this can do that. And it's a back and forth. It's a volley between you and the current technology and the way it's developing in such a way that it's got to be exciting and in a lot of ways overwhelming too, because you have to maybe go back a step or two and say, well, shit, if this can do this, then maybe I can apply it in this way. It's such a math equation that it's overwhelming to me, honestly.
Well, and it's kind of funny. It's like we're going down this road. It's kind of fits back to where before, is that I've been approached by some very, very large corporations that want to come in and basically grab me, let's make this thing big. And although on some sense, on a financial sense, that might be kind of nice, but on the other sense, I've decided to push those off, because these kind of ideas and technologies aren't going to happen with huge corporations and huge companies. they're going to happen with small, very fast-moving people that are quick on their feet. And
the ability to move quickly, too, because these corporations, there's so much red tape and the things they must go through before they even get to any kind of actual manufacturing or work being done, that it's just not going to work that way.
No, it does. You end up with huge bloated
meetings. It's just all meetings.
Yeah, that's it. And I've decided, it's like, although that is a way that things are done, of course, but it's like, that's why I decided, I'm going to keep it. The company at this point is going to be small, light, and very fast moving. Very, very, like I said, we're able to move in the right direction very quickly. We don't have a big board of directors that's going to have to be, although it is a corporation, so there's small board of directors, but there is, the point is we can create something that's fast moving and it can harness these technologies and things.
And be versatile too. I mean, versatility really is an essential aspect as well. I mean, you need to be able to change on a dime. It's funny how the business approach is quite emblematic of the product itself and what you're creating. I mean, there's a lot of similarities there. One of the chat room listeners, or one of the folks listening right now to the show who is currently in the chat room, Stephen, had a question. He wants to know if there is somewhere that people can go to actively follow the progress of this and the vehicle and just read about developments as they're happening leading up to December. Is there anywhere you can send people listening right now that would be interested in following up more on this?
Yep. If you go to airbornemotors.com, Airborne Motors is my company, but airbornemotors.com, AIRBORNE, and then motors.com. You can go in there. If you want to join the company as an investor, if you want to join the company as an engineer, or you have a marketing, something you could add to the company, there's a place to do that. There's also a place just to get hooked up with the newsletter. And
how often? So great. So you can sign up for a newsletter as well. How often do you get those newsletters published and sent out? Just as there are things being made available to present, really.
Because I'm kind of I'm a one-man show with a lot of outlying engineers. I've been not good about creating the whole thing. It's really going to start July 1. I put out, if somebody joins, you're going to kind of get a letter of introduction. And July 1 is going to be the launch of our newsletters. So if you want to join now, before July 1, you'll get on our list and you'll get all of the information, exactly where we're going and where we've been and where we're heading. So
phenomenal. And give out that website just one more time for anyone that may have missed it or would like to write it down.
Sure, it's airbornemotors.com.
Wonderful. And by the way, you are listening to TruthFunders Radio live on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. We are joined this week by Jesse Marcel Jr. talking about his flying car project and just the overall approach to the future as a society as a whole. I mean, that seems to be an overall running theme for this particular episode. If you would like to contribute your thoughts or opinions, 888-919-2355 is the telephone number, 888-919-2355. For those of you who have tuned in late and are wondering where my co-host Mark Schwartz is this week, he is off getting married. He gets married in 3 days, and he is so buried in wedding prep that he could not make the show this particular edition, understandably so. We're live here on the Inception Radio Network. Again, 888-919-2355. When we get back, Jesse, I want to move away from the flying car just a little bit and discuss some more on your upcoming new show, Paranormal Justice. Is that the name? Yes?
It is currently, but it's like once you get into the media, they change things, and that name might change as well. But right now it's a safe name.
The holding title is Paranormal Justice. What does that mean? We will get into that in just a few moments here with Jesse Marcel Jr. live on the Inception Radio Network. Again, my name is Art Webb. We got about 30 minutes after the break, so hang around. It's going to be a fun and lively conversation, as this has been for the hour so far. So thank you so much for tuning in. TruthFunders Radio live on IRN. We'll be this after back.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
TruthFunders was started as a place to shine a spotlight on paranormal projects. Other big-name crowdfunding sites bury paranormal projects that contain UFO, ghosts, Bigfoot, research, documentaries, books, clothes, movies, and more. At TruthFunders, we invite people to not just listen to our show, but interact and do something about it. You can create a project. Yes, you, listening to the radio right now, you can make a difference. Stop dreaming and take action at www.truthfunders.com. Click Create a a project and submit your idea. Or browse the other paranormal initiatives that other brave souls have put their energy into. Support them as they reach into their creative spirit and turn their passion into progress. Each donation you will make, you will receive something in return. From a book to a DVD to a Roswell I-beam and plenty more. You don't have the scratch to donate? Fine. Share anywhere you can, from Facebook to Twitter, or blog about it. That's free, and it helps support a community of people that not only want, but need to get the word out. We are not alone. We are a community. We need to believe in each other as much as we believe that there's more to life than meets the eye. Help support our project on TruthFunders, or create your own today at www.truthfunders.com.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic.
You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Yeah, you are indeed listening to the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb, and you are tuned in to TruthFunders Radio Live. We are joined by Jesse Marcel Jr. We've been talking flying cars and global consciousness and the future and optimism and hope and bright things and just being positive, essentially, and really running with the concept of positivity and turning it into something good and tangible and productive. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number if you would like to join the conversation. We've got a little bit under 30 minutes left on this week's episode. 888-919-2355. You can also email the show, which is truthfunders@gmail.com, truthfunders@gmail.com, or you can check out TruthFunders on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of those social media feeds. Just simply search TruthFunders, and I'm sure it will pop right on up there for you. Jesse, let's talk about your upcoming new project that is going to be a new type of show. I don't want to get too into details, as it seems maybe you're still working out logistics in a lot of the technicality ways and where people are going to be able to access it and the overall title and all that. But what's the concept, and what is it that you're looking to accomplish with this new show, and what type of show is this? Is it going to be web-based, TV-based? What are you doing? It'll be a network
where it'll be on television on one of the networks. It's basically a new form of documentary where you basically are able to bring, like you have some people that'll argue, and it's not just, I mean, it does deal with parascience and the rest of it, NDEs to everything, exorcism, all these, just you name it, crosses the board. But what it does, it allows people to come into a room and argue their situation out, that maybe they believe that, or their evidence shows one thing, and somebody else is out there piping, oh no, that's not possible, this, that, and there. And this just basically puts you in front of the person that's arguing with you. In other words, it kind of, it doesn't leave you can't just you can't impose a lot of conjecture.
Not a lot of one-sided conversation to be had or speculation to be presented, where a lot of these shows don't allow for that type of dialogue to go back and forth. I think it's a brilliant idea that really gives the user or the viewer of the content the ability to truly decide for themselves after hearing both sides of an argument when it comes to paranormal subject matter. And brilliant, dude. I mean, honestly, it's a very brilliant idea, and I think that you'll do very well with it.
It's exciting. It's different. I think there's a lot of room. It was really born out of a lot of things that have happened in the past, where everybody has something to say about something, but if the person's hiding behind a wall somewhere, it kind of removes that wall. It means, okay, if you're going to say something, you're going to have to have a reason for saying it, other than just because.
I was going to say, or a keyboard and a screen for that matter, too, because there's so much conjecture happening online and a lot of shit flinging going on from people back and forth.
Like my father, some people were attacking him, and it was crazy. When it came right down to him, the biggest thing they attacked my dad on while I was growing up was because he was a motorcycle rider and a mountain climber. And they said, well, yeah, who can trust one of those people? It's like, so it just kind of, it gets to the point of being absolutely ridiculous.
Who can trust mountain climbers? These guys, no validity in any way, shape, or form. The word these mountain climbers say. What the hell?
And exactly. I was like, he every summer he'd free climb down the Tetons. I mean, it was his love. He'd ride his motorcycle down there and climb. And he just loved that with a passion.
That's the thing,
really extreme sports, before it was called extreme sports. But yeah, and they're always trying to denigrate him for, well, if you're going to do that, then you're crazy. There must be something wrong with you. But it's just that whole idea. That's kind of what's born. It's like, well, okay, if you're going to say those things, well, come on and, in a way, say it to my face.
I believe in aliens. I also drink orange juice in the morning. You drink orange juice.
Oh, you must be crazy.
Yeah, you must be out of your mind. You drinking orange juice. You better not have pulp in that orange juice, because then we're going to commit you. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And it is kind of a brilliant move. So this is a project that you've shopped and has indeed been picked up for a pilot or a series order. What's the current status?
Yeah, it's already gone through preliminary production, that kind of thing, development. And there's 2 homes for it right now, and it's kind of deciding which is going to go, what we're going to go with. But it
will be widely available and made, on a national level. People will be able to access and find whether they're watching it on television or online or in any.
Yep, nationally and internationally. Yep, you won't have any problem getting to it.
And what kinds of cases, for lack of a better term, or projects are you going to be bringing to the initial few runs? Or do you have any examples that you can provide of discussions that will be going on in the early run of the episodes?
Well, I mean, in a way, it's like you can kind of look at it like, of course, my background's in Roswell, so guess what? One of the shows is going to be about. But just part of the UFO world, and everything, spiritual world, the
metaphysical and all that stuff. That's what I want to get at. Is it's not going to be hyper focused on extraterrestrials or
no.
planet. This is going to be ghosts. It's going to be metaphysical consciousness. It's going to be any number of things that people have not been able to prove through science yet that are hypotheticals.
Right. Well, and I share one interesting one is like there was a test done at a university in England that over a period of over a decade. And this guy created a very simple computer, and all it did was spit out a yes or a no. That's all. And he had students go to it and try to, in a way, predict the outcome of that experiment over 10 years. And in a way, okay, I want to see this computer come up with a yes for its next answer. And somebody else might walk in, I want to see it come up with a no for its next answer. Then it would come up. And what's interesting is that's the whole idea of when we get into a quantum reality, is that we can alter the outcome of simple experiments.
The power of intention and the power of intention and manifestation.
The power of intention. And what's interesting is he was able to do that in excess of 70% of the time. And statistically, over 10 years, that's an impossibility.
No, that's insane. So that's another type of thing that you'll be bringing to
those sort of things. Is that okay? He can do that, and he has a bunch of raw data. And you have somebody else who's going to say, oh, that's just a bunch of garbage. No way. There's no truth to that. So, well, good. You bring up why it's garbage. He's going to bring in why he believes that his outcomes of his experiment actually are significant. And so that's kind of how it comes together. So
will Judge Jesse Marcel Jr. be proceeding over the court, so to speak?
I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. Actually, you'll find out when you see it.
If you need a judge, I'm happy to take my gavel and slam it down anytime.
There we go.
Well, that sounds really fascinating. And when can you expect this to go into production and eventually hitting the air? Because this is something that I think would be fun to keep up on here at TruthFunders as well.
I can tell you from an amateur standpoint, because I really don't know all the ins and outs of how it all works. I mean, I'm hoping this fall sometime we have it together.
Oh, great! But this year, this is something this year. I mean, all your target dates are this year, so those are they'll happen.
Yeah, things are going good. We're also, I mean, the big 70th reunion for Roswell's coming up in 2017, and we're going to do our best to at least do a big announcement for a movie coming out in that area. One of the movies I've been working on for quite a few years. So we have a lot of things over the next few years coming out.
Yeah, I was going to say, between that, your flying car, and the I-beam project, what else do you not have time for? Because it seems your days are pretty filled at this point with projects that you got spinning around. I mean,
I said my car actually comes first above everything. I mean, that's how I spend the bulk of my hours between morning, night, midnight, 3 in the morning, whatever it is. And then I do, some of this, like the I-beam stuff is exciting to me because it carries forward, really part of what our family has been experienced to, or had the front seats to it.
It's personal.
So it's kind of exciting. Legacy. That's one way that I stay in touch with it. I actually haven't scheduled any more book tours or those kind of things for this year or next year, just because I've gotten so involved with what I'm doing that I couldn't do a good job at it.
Well, touring is exhausting too. I mean, let's face it, getting out, and whether you're doing the convention circuit or you're doing a book tour circuit or you're just getting out and doing public speaking engagements, as somebody who has done touring and continues to do touring types of engagements in my personal life, it is exhausting. I mean, it is physically and mentally just depleting in every way. So it's probably kind of nice for you to be able to sit down and kind of ground yourself and root and really focus the energies that would otherwise be taken up by those types of traveling needs.
Yeah. And that's true. It allows me to concentrate more, and and it is, like I said, it's definitely a love that I'm following. Not that I don't, I really embrace the some of the paranormal ideas and what's going on out there. And it's not even, I don't even like the word paranormal, because people look at that all different. So what does paranormal mean? Anything outside of what we consider as normal. Well, anymore, the idea that there's life in the universe is not paranormal. It's normal. It's getting closer and closer to a societal norm.
That's a good point. That's an excellent point.
I always think some people that are kind of out there that are pitching their book or doing whatever are really, they say, I can't believe there's so few people interested anymore. The thing is that it's not, there's no shock value to it anymore. Is that really, I mean, I can't think of, when I ran into the last person that actually didn't believe that there isn't life in the universe and that perhaps we've been visited and this and that and the other. It's it doesn't have that shock value. It's so accepted by our humanity at this point that we're not alone. It's more of a casual conversation.
I can't imagine the last person that you're right. That's such a good point that I have not considered that. I could not come up with the last person that I spoke to that truly did not believe in life existing somewhere else in the universe. It is normal at this point. And you're right. The word term paranormal has been gentrified to such an extent that it is whitewashed in a lot of ways now. And it doesn't carry that same mysterious or mystical type of energy that it always has, the unexplained, the things that might be there that we can't necessarily use any of our sixth senses to pin down, but we just feel them and we know that we're there, and we are coming to a head with that kind of stuff. That you're right, there does need to be a new term coined, maybe not a new term, but we need to figure out a way to redirect a word that into ways that cover these things, maybe on not such an overarching position either, because you're right, from alternative theories in terms of science, metaphysics, spiritual ghosts, the whole thing. You're right, it is becoming much more what's the word I'm looking for, stagnated and broken down.
It's just becoming a societal norm. It's like these are phenomenons that exist in our society. I was reading a little article the other day. It was about some people are up in arms because there's something about it's not a Ouija board. People are calling out this demon, and it's kind of like a whole hoopla thing. And they're saying that people are going to get entranced, and it's going to be bad for everybody, and they know it's fake, but it's all kind of this big movement to go out for people on the internet to go out and try to do this and call this evil demon into your room or something like that. And what I always think is funny, because this was by it was an AP news story. What was interesting, it said, this isn't a real demon though. And you got to look at that and think, well, okay, if this isn't a real demon, then you got to believe there is such a thing as a real phenomenon. There's something real out there that's beyond our essence. Because you can't say something's fake if it's this is one of the fake ones. It's not one of the real ones. Well, you're kind of legitimizing there is something real out there. Then if you're saying one's fake, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the yin and yang. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So it is, and it's interesting. I mean, even through religion, all the rest of the time, people believe in the idea of, like you said, you call it ghosts, whatever you want to do, essences around us. There is something to it. I mean, I went through a car accident. It's been 20-something years ago, and I was clinically gone by the time I got to the emergency room, and then I died again in my sleep. And I went through not a bright light situation, but I went through a situation where I was very, very comfortable with the situation around me, all the feelings, the emotions, and it was actually in ICU. And I was, after I, so to speak, came back after getting an adrenaline shot, I was able to repeat everybody's conversations in the room, in the ICU room. And there was no synapses going on in my brain at the time. And it's interesting. It's like that sort of thing. It's like, to me, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, there's something else out there. There's something way beyond our conceptual, our physical self, as far as, and that, if that manifests itself in the idea of a ghost or some kind of a dent in in what we perceive as reality around us, and that, whatever it might be, it's interesting.
And it is what we were talking about a moment ago with the power of intention and manifestation. I mean, there could be any number of things that are in reality and in all actuality the same thing. We are just projecting them differently and then perceiving them differently as well. I'm a firm believer that all roads lead to the same place at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I mean, no matter what path you choose, we're all going to the same place. And I think that speaks equally as well to these types of things, that we just project them and then perceive the surroundings around us in such a way that we pinpoint it as UFO or ghost or demon or whatever. I mean, it's all about our own personal biases and the way that we were raised. And so many things go in and out of this, but ultimately I do believe it to be, at the end of the day, one common denominator.
I agree too. I think there's some similarity to all this stuff. The idea of essence of whatever, of life, of being, of consciousness, that kind of thing. It is all the same thing through many different things. I read this really interesting article, and I forgot the site this was. They're talking about how do we recognize life from absence of life, and it really boils down to a physical property of how matter exhales energy. And if you're able to look at something as simple as that, obviously a rock, it still does exhale energy. You can heat it in the sun and it'll cool off. Energy will leave that rock as it cools off and dissipates into the air around it. But, you just take that to the nth degree past that idea, and you have us. But
Absolutely.
the idea that everything, that there is, it's if you boil life down to the way energy is transferred from one thing to another, or the way they use the word exhale, it's kind of interesting, and it creates a universe that's absolutely limitless.
And it is indeed absolutely limitless. And further to that point, it's my personal belief that essentially everything that is existence, is the way that we know it, from overall everything. I mean, shit, from the way I'm sitting in this chair right now to the way somebody in China is eating food. It's all sound. We're all sound. Everything is just sound. That's what we are. We are vibrating frequencies, and we are vibrating at such an extreme frequency that it becomes a solid. I can hit the desk here, and
exactly
that is sound. And we that's why I think I love radio so much, and the concept of music, and why I think music really is the true power in bringing people together out of love and peace and harmony, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. We are music. We are living, breathing, living music. And that's a much bigger conversation for a much different day.
That's actually a very good way to put it. I mean, that's all we are. At the end of the day, all we are is energy, which is vibrations. That's all we are. Everything from solid to liquid to gas to absence of. I mean, it's all, we are all exactly the same thing.
And that is sound, and that is what the Big Bang comes down to as well. It's just a big sound that happened, and as a result, so much so that it became existence in the way that we currently perceive it and know it. These are big questions that we are discussing, my friend, and I'm truly enjoying this conversation with you. Unfortunately, we've got about 5 minutes left on this week's episode, so I do want to get a couple calls in if anybody wants to contribute to this conversation with Jesse Marcel Jr. here live on TruthFunders Radio. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number, 888-919-2355. Again, I encourage you to go to truthfunders.com and check out Jesse's Roswell I-beam project. It's currently in the middle of generating donations, and there are so many different levels of rewards. If you want to donate $5, $10, $15, $25, anywhere up to $2,500, all sorts of amazing rewards for you available, and so much information. I mean, like Jesse said earlier in the program, this picture of his grandfather. Is that your grandfather or your father with the foil?
That's my grandfather.
That's a picture of your grandfather with the foil. He's a good-looking guy, man.
Yeah, there's about that. Just real quickly about that picture. It's a pretty famous picture. And I had it colorized and enhanced with the latest softwares and that kind of thing. But what my grandfather always said is, inside those pictures, inside that room, it was mostly just fake. It was a raw one target, weather balloon and stuff. But he said there was a part of the original spacecraft in there. And that's the reason I did it. So apparently some of the debris in there actually could be real. So it's just fun to think about.
It is fun to think about, and the picture itself is a piece of Roswell history, and I can't wait to see where this whole Roswell thing goes. And like you said, 2017 is going to be the big, what anniversary is it? The
70th, yeah.
70th anniversary of Roswell. Who would have thought back in 1957, 67, 77 that we'd still be 70 years into this, and the mystery not only as big as it ever was, but bigger than really it's ever been, and so much more questions surrounding the entire event than answers having been provided. I mean, that is kind of a wild notion that we are that far and deep into something at this point. And overall, I think Area 51 is universally believed in and, acknowledged by anybody you go up to and ask. I mean, they don't necessarily know that aliens crashed there, but they do know that there's some freaky shit going down, and that's enough in and of itself to, make the conversation worthwhile.
There are actually two different places, Area 51 and out of Roswell, but yeah, there's, it is kind of the base. It's one of those points in time that really changed things. I mean, you can really point back to where people, started believing there's, are willing to think that there's something else beyond us. I mean, not that other civilizations haven't forever, but it was really kind of an awakening. And it's kind of, it's the bedrock for a lot of the UFOs, all the sightings and that kind of thing. It's the foundation for all of it. So it was an exciting place to be, and I was just lucky enough to just be born into the family that had something to do with it.
And it is your blessing, and I once again encourage everybody to go to truthfunders.com, find the Roswell I-beam project, and contribute however much you can. If you can't, share the project on Facebook, share it on Twitter. Let's get some, viral happenings going for Jesse's project and Truth Funders as a whole. We do appreciate you sharing Truth Funders to anyone and everyone you think that would give a damn and want to be involved with a crowdsourcing community that is into funding things that aren't necessarily mainstream topics and really bringing the truth out. Jesse Marcel Jr., thank you so much again for joining me. Again, I encourage people to check out your project. You can also go to, what's that website again for the flying car?
airbornemotors.com.
airbornemotors.com, airbornemotors.com. And also we can look out for your brand new television show coming sometime this year to a major national network about paranormal and the discussion between two parties and really the yes and the no, the right or the wrong or whatever. It's the people's court for paranormal, essentially. I mean, is that a good way to describe it?
That'd be an interesting way to describe it, yeah.
Okay, cool. You're listening to Truth Funders Radio. My name is Art Webb. Jesse, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and I look forward to having another conversation with you again sometime down the line. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
I as well. Thanks for having me on.
All right, talk to you soon, man. All right, so Mark Schwartz will be back next week. He will be married by then, so we can give him all sorts of love for that. And up until that point, I just encourage you to please continuing to support Truth Funders through IRN. Like I said at the beginning of the program, download the IRN app. You can please do that by going to the App Store on iTunes or the Google Android Market. Search IRN, and you get a nice little app there. You just launch that sucker, and you can access old shows. You can access live feeds, any number of things. You can get Truth Funders and IRN on the Roku if you have a Roku box. You can use that, or just go to inceptionradio.com. Thanks for joining us in the chat room. And for those of you that are downloading the show via podcast, I know that there is a lot of you that do that. I encourage you to tune in live every Wednesday evening here in the States. That is 6 p.m. Pacific time on the West Coast, 9 p.m. East time on, what is that? I guess it's Eastern time on the East Coast. It's weird that it's Pacific time, West Coast, Eastern time, East Coast. Why are you guys so much better that you get the same word? We got to use two different words over here. That's just my own thoughts. Don't even worry about it. Also, you can follow Truth Funders on Twitter at Truth Funders for the latest news, blogs, and interviews and project. Like us on Facebook, where we have interactive conversations constantly. We listen to your opinions and always post articles that we can discuss later on this show. That's at facebook.com/truthfunders. You can follow us on medium.com. We have a new Truth Funders Paranormal Digest and are taking over Medium's paranormal blogs. So if you want to write a paranormal article or have something incredible to share with the world, send us a message at truthfunders@gmail.com. And by the way, all of our emails are directed to truthfunders@gmail.com, and we respond to every single person that writes, because if you're going to take the time to send us a note, the least we can do is take the amount of time it takes to respond to you and say thanks for the message or whatever follow-up we can provide, and we will publish it in our Truth Funders Paranormal Digest on Medium. Again, that's truthfunders@gmail.com. All of your thoughts and questions or objections, criticisms, whatever. If you got something to say, that's where you're going to say it. Go to our website, truthfunders.com, to submit or donate to a project and help the paranormal community come together and make research happen. Plus, find out about the new apps that we are adding to Truth Funders over the next couple months. Big things are constantly happening and developing. My name is Art Webb. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. For Mark Schwartz, who is off getting married, I say thank you. And for the rest of us here at IRN, MJ, Bob, Joe, everyone, thank you so much again for tuning in to Truth Funders, and I will talk to you next week. My name is Art Webb. Until then, I will say au revoir.
Truth Funders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.